What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikiPikaPapa, and it's hard to believe that 2 months ago this video was dropped. So if you're new to the channel, 2 months ago I did a video based off of current booster box prices and the ones that I identified and I thought at least had the greatest opportunity to increase in value over time. And it was a function of the value of the cards inside the booster box versus the current booster box price. We broke it out as a ratio and we looked at it. Now this video today is 2 months later, so let's look back, let's see where we're at, and it's not enough time to decide, hey, is this ratio right or wrong, but what it really is it's a time to do a pulse check and see if we're on the right track. So here's really what we were looking at. Let me break this down for you. So you'll see this, what I call the Technicolor Dream Coat of Pokemon awesomeness. So those red, yellow, white, green lines at the very, very top, those are the top 20 cards in each of the 12 Sword and Shield sets, okay? So I broke them out and I color coded them. So anything in green is $40 or more, anything in red is $15 or below, and as you can imagine, yellow and white is somewhere in between. Now, what I did in this exercise was I said, hey, listen, there are some sets where the value of the top 20 cards versus the price of the booster box is way off kilter. Like, there's no way that this can remain the same. Either the price of the booster box has to go up, or the price of the cards have to come down, or some combination of the two has to happen, because it just can't live in this state of, you know, if there's $100 worth of cards at the top and there's $100 for the booster box, like, people are going to buy and they're going to rip it all day long because you can flip the cards, and, you know, in turn, that's going to make the demand for the booster boxes are going to go up and the price of the booster boxes are going to go up. So I broke it down into these three different tiers right here. Tier 1 was where I said, hey, listen, these booster boxes, if you want to hold them, that's great, because I have this feeling that the prices are going to go up. Or the value in these booster boxes is so high, if you want to rip them, even though I don't normally say, hey, rip these booster boxes, if you got an itching to rip some wax, this is the time to do it. These are the boxes where you have the best opportunity and the most downside protection due to the value of the cards that are in there. Then I had my tier 2, which was my hold. Okay, you buy these, you hold these, I don't rip the wax, you know, the cards aren't worth that much, but still, that disparity between the value of the cards and the cost of the booster box was so off that I felt like this has to change. The value here has to go up. And then I had my tier 3, which I unceremoniously named trash, which I shouldn't have. But these were sets where I said, hey, listen, there's an opportunity cost with everything. If you spend money on these 4 sets, I think you have a better chance at realizing a return on your capital if you invest in tier 1 or tier 2. So tier 3 were ones where I said, you know, invest at your own risk. I just don't think there's a lot of there because the ratio suggested that they were close in line enough that I didn't think that there was a ton of upside potential for the booster boxes, or at least not as much upside potential as there was in, say, the tier 1 or the tier 2 boxes. So with that being said, listen, if you are new to this channel, we do all kinds of fun data dives like this. Like, we challenge the norm. We like to look at things a little bit differently. We are very much, I always say we try and play chess when everybody else is playing checkers. If that makes sense to you and if you're into that kind of thing, we'd love to have you as a member of this channel. We are growing like a bad weed, and we've got some really, really, really smart and really cool people who are in this group as well. So hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, drop a comment down below. We're doing all kinds of fun stuff. So with that being said, this is a good time after 2 months to come back and do a pulse check. Now, like I said earlier, it's not because we want to clearly define if we were right or wrong, but we want to see if we were on the right track because, hey, nobody was doing this. Nobody was putting dollars and cents and making suggestions based off of that. There's some incredibly smart, incredibly talented, like really plugged in YouTubers out there who have all kinds of expertise and time in market and gut and intuition, and just knowing the hobby is really important when you're making these decisions. But I'm the type of guy where I'm like, show me a bar graph, show me a line chart, show me some previous price trends. Like, I want to make sure that when you spend your hard-earned money and I spend my hard-earned money, we feel really good about the investments that we're making or the cash that we're spending. And I just like to put some data to it. There's no two ways about it. I think that's the best way to do anything when you're approaching spending money in a potentially investable asset, which Pokemon cards is at the end of the day. So now we're going to go back and we're going to take a look at these 3 different tiers and how they performed. And then on Sunday, I'm going to re-rank everything. I'm going to take all of these from Sword and Shield and I'm going to re-rank them and see where they would stack up today. We're going to see where the ratios are today, and we're going to go through this exercise all over again. So let me show you what I'm looking at, and we're going to start with tier 1 and work our way all the way down to tier 3. So remember, tier 1 was the ones where I said you can rip these or you can hold these. I prefer holding. I'm not a big gripper and ripper, but it's a ton of fun. A big part of Pokemon is enjoying opening packs. We do that with my kids on this channel a lot. So this was Silver Tempest, Astral Radiance, Evolving Skies, and Chilling Reign. And I'm going to walk through each thing that we're looking at here in a little bit of detail, just so you understand what all of these different colors and numbers and everything's mean, okay? So the very first line there is change in average. That is simply over the last 2 months, what was the change in the average price for the top 20 cards? Because remember, that's what we used to baseline this, was the top 20 cards in each set of the 12 Sword and Shield sets. So that dropped $3.83. The average of the top 20 over the last 2 months dropped $3.83 in Silver Tempest, $2.23 in Astral Radiance, $5.87 in Evolving Sky. Chilling Reign was up. How freaking awesome is that? Chilling Reign has been killing the game. And so that's how those top 20 averages performed. Then I broke it out by the top 10 because we know that there's big chase cards, there's big cards in the top 10. A lot of times the excitement around a booster box is, hey, I want to go pull that Lugia V Alt Art. I want to go pull that Moonbryon out of Evolving Skies, right? Like that drives a lot of collectability and a lot of excitement around these booster boxes, which in turn drives prices. So I looked at the change in the top 10 as well. And then I also broke it down in the line below as a percentage, because you look at Silver Tempest, it dropped $6.70, which was a 12% change. Now, Silver Tempest came out in November, so this was only a month old when we first looked at it. So as we know, Pokemon cards come out and they start off really high, and then they normalize a bit. As products are open and as more product gets into the market, they start to normalize a bit. But that $6.70 drop represented a 12% change, where when you look at something like Evolving Skies, where those top 10 cards, their average price was a lot higher, the dollar amount change was higher. It dropped almost $10, but the percentage change was only down 5.6%. So that's why we look at it both from a dollar amount and from a percentage standpoint. So we already talked about Silver Tempest. We already talked about Evolving Skies. Astral Radiance, the top 10 performed better than the overall 20 average. So it only dropped $1.74, so less than 4% drop. Chilling Reign, again, was up. Their top 10 was up $3.82 for an average increase of 5.2%, which is really, really cool. When you look at this, the overall for tier 1, the top 10 changed an average of 4.1%. And then we get down to the average top 20 versus booster box. Now remember, that was the number that I used in this first video. Actually, in this first video, I used what I called the middle 16 versus the booster box price. So I took the top 2 and the bottom 2 of the top 20 out. Because in my mind at that point, I thought, hey, these big cards really skew the average, right? Like Vivid Voltage, Darkness Ablaze. Those are sets where when you get beyond the top two, there's really not a lot of value in the set. So I wanted to pull them out because it was skewing the average. This is a great example of when your really, really smart comments and inputs and thoughts change the way that we look at things on this channel, because you guys said, hey, listen, dummy, those chase cards are a big reason why people open boxes. You should keep them in there. So I thought about doing some kind of chase card multiplier, but instead I just decided take the easy route, keep that dollar value in there, which is going to raise the average. So now instead of middle 16 versus booster box price, we look at the average top 20 versus booster box price. And remember, the thought for this tier 1 was that something had to change. Either the booster box price had to go up, or the change in card value had to come down, or a combination of the two, because that ratio was so far off. And what you see universally across all of these tier 1s is you see that constriction happen, right? Like Silver Tempest, it constricted almost 10%. Astral Radiance, almost 5.5%. Evolving Skies, 4.2%. And Chilling Reign, even with all of its good performance, listen, it's still constricted 8.5%, which is good because that was driven by, look at the huge booster box price. So even though the card prices went up on average, the booster box price went up significantly more, negating that, and it still constricted that ratio of top 20 versus booster box price. This is so far what I'm using to identify opportunities in this space. And as we look at tier 2 and as we look at tier 3, I think we're all going to see that at least so far, now there's not enough data for this to be statistically relevant, and this has been a bull market for Pokemon over the last couple months, but at least we're not sitting here lighting this on fire saying, this is trash, there's no reason for us to look at this, okay? Look at the booster box change in price across all 4 of these. So from a dollar perspective, 26, 14, 41 from Evolving Skies, that's been on fire. Chilling Reign is up 28%. From a percentage standpoint, Silver Tempest, Chilling Reign are the big winners, 27, 25%. Evolving Skies, you know, it went up 41 bucks, but we had such a high floor. We were starting at like 280, now it's up to like 320. So from a percentage standpoint, not that great, but from a dollar standpoint, it was really, really good. And I just want to be clear when I say not that great. 14% in 2 months is phenomenal in any world. So there's no way I'm poo-pooing any of these gains. The reality is most of these 12 sets did really, really well over the last 2 months. What we're trying to do is see which ones outperformed, and we're looking for outperformance. And Tier 1 seems like they did really well. These are also some of the later sets, right? This is set number 12, 10, 7, and 6. Booster boxes were up 20%. And the biggest change in single card pricing, which is what we expect because Silver Tempest came down a large percentage. And, you know, Evolving Skies, not a huge percentage. But just overall, Tier 1 did really well. So I walked away from this and I thought, you know, this is pretty cool. With Sword and Shield sunsetting and Scarlet and Violet coming out, maybe we'll use this moving forward. Let's look at Tier 2. So then we went to Tier 2, and now remember, this was the tier where I said, okay, these individual cards, they're still priced okay, but I don't think there's something there to grip and rip. Like, these are boxes you can buy and you can hold, because really, I think that either the prices have to change in the cards or the booster box price is going to go up. And we saw some really, really impressive booster box price gains here in Tier 2. So Lost Origins, Brilliant Stars, Fusion Strike, Battle Styles, on average, the card price didn't change that much. So Lost Origin and Brilliant Stars, you see the card average in the top 20 and in the top 10, both came down, but then you got Fusion Strike and Battle Styles where the card prices actually went up over the last 2 months, which is really exciting for me. I like to see some of these older sets where they have some fight in them, where they're, you know, they might be past the reprint stage. I don't know, Battle Styles probably, Fusion Strike, I'm not sure, but to see their top 20 cards gain in value when most of the times we see them decline is really exciting for me. Couple that with, we saw some amazing booster box gains over here. Really, if it wasn't for Evolving Skies only having a 5% gain, this would have far exceeded, from a booster box perspective, Tier 1. So we saw 28%, almost 29% gain from Lost Origin, 22% from Fusion Strike, 28% from Battle Styles. Now, I will say Battle Styles was the low-hanging fruit. It started off, I think, was it 85 bucks in December? It's up, ticking near 100 right now. So it gets a big percentage boost from a $20 gain. But who cares? That's what you're looking for. If you would have bought, you know, 2 boxes and you spent 160 bucks on it, now it's worth 200. Big money, right? Big gains. That's what we're looking for. That's why we use this data. That's why we look for ratios that are off to give us opportunities to spend our money and hopefully make a little bit on the backside. So Tier 2 performed really well. Now you look at that average 20 versus booster box price. It constricted, but in the old slide, in Tier 1, it constricted more because the ratio was more askew in the first look at it, right? We knew that. They were Tier 1 because the ratio was the biggest, had the biggest delta. Here, it tightens up, but not as much because we started off with the lower delta. So anyways, again, really good to look at it this way. And then we're going to look at Tier 3 and see how that performed and see if our indicators there were right. Like, our thought was, hey, this probably isn't the best sets to buy right now. There's other opportunities out there. And here's what Tier 3 looked like. Again, Vivid Voltage, Darkness Ablaze, Rebel Clash, Sword and Shield. I am apologizing to you in front of the YouTube world. I should not have called you trash. But this certainly goes to prove that those other 8 sets were better investments at the time. I don't think this is going to take anybody by surprise. I think we all felt that these 4 sets were probably the less valuable of them all. But to see it in black and white, to see the data confirm it, to see the way that these moved, when we saw 21% in the average booster box price increase from Tier 2, 20% from the average booster box from Tier 1, and here the average booster box only went up 7.4%. And really, if it wasn't for Sword and Shield going on this crazy bull run as of late, this really would have been, you know, kind of tough sledding for all 4 of these sets put together. Vivid Voltage is the only one where we've seen the booster box price come down. Let me say this, though. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy Vivid Voltage. Again, on Sunday, we're going to re-rank all of these and look at it. The goal is to buy low and sell high, not sell high, not buy high, sell high, right? Like, you have to find opportunity in the market. Vivid Voltage is probably past the reprint window, if there's going to be any reprint windows. So Vivid Voltage, on the downside, might be a time to buy a couple booster boxes and put them away if you think that overall Sword and Shield's era coming to an end, Scarlet and Violet kicking off, like Vivid Voltage probably isn't going to get reprinted. If you think that there's a there, this might be an opportunity to go ahead and buy. But This is set 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 4 sets out of the gate. Same thing with Sun and Moon. You know, the first 4 sets out of the gate weren't the greatest. You know, we had one in there that was all right, but the early sets tend to, at least for the last 2 series, tend to not perform as well as the later ones. You know, I looked at the first couple as examples of potential flips. This one certainly doesn't seem like it has that potential as well. And then when you look at that key indicator, which what I was saying was the average top 20 versus the booster box price, you see that this one, it really barely moved at all. You know, we saw some significant movement in tier 1. We saw some okay movement in tier 2, but on average here it only moved 0.4. So that just goes to show you that there might be something here when we're looking at this data. So again, this isn't meant to be a we're right, we're wrong type thing. This is only meant to be directional in nature. This is something that I wanted to get out there because it's been a couple months since we looked at things from this lens. I've changed the way, remember I had this Grail, I called it Grail cards or the Grail box. I've changed the verbiage on that thanks to you guys. And I'm really excited for the Sunday video where we're going to re-rank everything and see if there's any outstanding performance based off of the way things have performed over the last couple months. So I think it's going to be a ton of fun. I've got a ton of data diving to do. I'm going to put a link to the old video down here if you want to see that very first one where I just basically said, this makes no sense to me. I explain all of this in great detail. Just remember that a lot of the fundamentals, a lot of the things that we've looked at have changed. And in 6 months when we do this again and I reference this video, things from this video will change as well. It's because we're always evolving, we're always growing, we're always getting smarter. We want to be playing chess when other people are playing checkers. I appreciate you guys more than you know. I hope you have an epic night, and I can't wait to drop this video on Sunday. Talk to you later.